Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about virtual wholesaling. This is actually the first of 3 videos. We'll go deeper into virtual wholesaling, but in this video we're just going to briefly talk about, first of all, introduce what is virtual wholesaling and how you can leverage virtual wholesaling, how you can start virtual wholesaling, and what you can do to get virtual wholesaling as one of your main strategic methods for wholesaling. So let's jump right into it. So what is virtual wholesaling and why do you even want to do it? From a wholesaling perspective, wholesaling virtually means that you follow the same exact procedures. You do everything as you would do physically. In other words, you find a property, you lock up that property under contract, you find a buyer, and then you make the transaction happen through a title company or an attorney, right? Usually you do this in your local market, or at least in a market close enough where you have access to the property and all parties as need be. With virtual wholesaling, everything applies, but you're now doing this remotely. All right, so you can take on properties that are completely out of your region, out of your local market, and wholesale them virtually without ever actually having to go there in person, having to meet with anyone in person, or do anything physically. Right, everything happens virtually, remotely, and through digital means. So why do you want to do it? Because obviously it's you can tap into markets that are outside your local market, and you can now make deals happen in those markets. These may be markets that you're familiar with, right? These may be markets that are easy to work because there's less competition there. These might be lower pocket markets out there. These are lower population pocket markets out there. These might be markets that, for whatever reason, you have an advantage. That's why you would virtually wholesale in a market like this, because you can take advantage, you can leverage whatever advantages you have and make those deals happen. Obviously, you still want to ask yourself, is this a deal? Is this something you want to do? And just like with physical wholesaling, what you want to do is create relationships with, say, 5 to 10 local buyers in that market for that virtual deal, whatever deal you have on your plate. You also want to establish a local team, so you have someone that can represent you there. This could be an agent. This could be even a student that can run errands for you, take pictures, and take care of lock boxes and do inspection walkthroughs with whoever might be the person doing these things. Or it might be a partner that lives in that area that you can, someone you can partner up with. Or a flipper, even an investor that you partner up with, or even someone like an inspector, right? What you want to do is build a team to cover your bases, so you have everything covered for that market, right? And one thing that's super critical is for you to become a comping master in that market. It's since you're not there physically, since you can't see the properties for yourself, and you can't have a firsthand experience with that property, it's critical that you comp accurately. And we'll go through, there's other videos in this channel talking about proper ways to comp, but it's super important that you follow simple comping guidelines, and also become very proficient and very accurate with your comps, especially when working virtual markets. What you want to do is have a mindset that you're going to go all in on this virtual market. You're going to go all in and you're going to embrace technology to its fullest, because you have to depend on technology here, and you have to depend on your team, and you have to trust yourself and move forward in a confident manner, right? So the reasons that if you do consider going virtual as far as wholesaling or real estate investing in general, you might consider these as the reasons why you want to go in that direction. In other words, why you want to virtually wholesale. Number one, if you live outside the US, right, if you live in another country that you cannot wholesale in, obviously the US is the best market country that is available for wholesaling. So that's number one. Number two, if your local market is just too expensive, right? If you just cannot work your local market, let's say you live in Manhattan, New York, and your local market's way too overpriced. Certain parts of California are like this, and you just can't get any type of leverage wholesaling. That would be another reason. Number three, your market is just too competitive. You may be in a good market, but there's way too many competitors, too many wholesalers, too many investors, too much going on at the same time, and it's hard to get any traction in markets like that. Another reason why you may want to go to a different market and wholesale virtually. Number four, if you want that lifestyle for yourself. In other words, you don't want to get tied down to anything physical. And by going virtually, you're actually forcing yourself to work with teams and to work with automation and to work in a manner that is actually more proficient because you're not tied down physically. In fact, even if you wholesale in your local market, a good exercise or a good practice is to actually treat your local market as a virtual market, so you don't get caught up in the day-to-day physical aspects of actually going out to properties and meeting with investors and meeting. I mean, these are all good things, but they can really suck your time and make you less efficient than if everything you're doing is virtually. You can cut down a lot of meetings and a lot of just time that is not necessary. So the lifestyle, right? Forcing yourself to go virtual, even if you're virtually wholesaling in your local market. All right, and number five, or another reason to go virtual, is to scale quicker. You can get there a lot quicker than physically. So it's another reason why people do it, and again, get themselves in a situation where they can scale and be moving multiple properties a lot sooner than they would otherwise. All right, so now I'm going to go over five methods, or five things to virtually wholesale. In other words, what you need to do in order to virtually wholesale. Number one is choose a familiar market. Again, this can be a market that you have lived in, that you're familiar with. It can be your local market, once again. It can be one that you have an interest in, one that you have studied, or one that you have just more general interest to work in. So choose a market that's familiar with you now or that you plan on getting familiar with. Number 2, choose an interesting market. All right, this is important because if it's a market that's not really doing much, and by interesting I mean things that are going on in that market, a market that is growing, scaling, and is showing signs of improvement and signs of new schools, new new commercial areas, new neighborhoods, new expansion, and interesting not just to you but to other wholesalers and other investors out there. Action, things that are happening with that market. Also, an active market is number 4. Choose a market that is indeed active. And when I say active, I mean on the MLS and sales, home sales are obvious, and there's pending contracts, and there's just a lot of activity on the real estate side. Choose someplace where you can set up shop, right? Where you can set up your business, where you can set up your virtual resources quickly and proficiently and get going fast. And also choose a market that has a decent population. I personally recommend somewhere between 250,000 and 1 million. Slightly bigger, not so much the smaller markets, but whatever range you go with, just make sure it's something you're comfortable with and something you're consistent with for possibly other future virtual markets that you may come across later on. All right, because once you're in that range, you know what that population, you know what that city or town can do as far as virtual wholesaling goes, and you'll know what to expect down the road. All right, so these are the reasons why you want to set up virtual wholesaling markets, and how to go about it, and how to choose your virtual markets. All right, in the future we'll go over, we'll dive deeper into virtual wholesaling. We'll talk about how to find virtual wholesaling deals in our next virtual wholesaling video, and also how to find investors for our virtual deals. All right, so these will be sequential videos following up this virtual wholesaling video. So I hope this was insightful. I hope this was useful, and you guys can get something out of it. Please destroy the like button, hit the subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you haven't already done so that you can get notified on future videos just like this one. All right, thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.